just doing this and working through issues. That's kind of the name of the game when it comes to investing.
100%. That's basically inevitable. You're going to deal with problems. That's you as an investor.
Yeah, problems, they come up when you least expect them, and you have to troubleshoot really fast and get good at making movements and not second guessing yourself. Would you agree?
100%. And I'm a big believer in the bigger the problems that you solve, the bigger the reward is. So just get good at solving really big problems and you'll get rewarded for it financially.
Brace yourself for a wild ride into the unexpected. This ain't your typical success show. I'm here talking to real folks who've been through it all, skipping the fancy business talk for authentic stories. We're diving into childhood dreams, teenage escapades, and everything in between. No scripts, just the stories that truly mold success. Each episode takes you on a journey through those breakthrough moments that paved their way. No fluff, just genuine stories. So whether you're chasing dreams or just love a good story, buckle up for wisdom, laughs, and the unexpected. This is the BRRRR Podcast, where success is a journey, not just some fancy destination. Don't miss out. Hit the subscribe button now and join our breakthrough crew. I got some incredible stories to share, and you won't want to miss a single one.
Hi, everyone. Today, I'm talking with someone who is reshaping what value creation looks like in real estate. Sabrina Smai is a tech-turned-investor who has built a powerful strategy around ADUs, condo conversions, and recognizing opportunities that most people completely overlook. One thing I appreciate about Sabrina is how she avoids chasing deals that only look like value add on the surface. She knows that what worked 2 years ago might not work today, and she's putting in the effort to get ahead of what's coming next, especially with everything happening in Arizona and Seattle around affordability, density, and housing demand. In this episode, we dig into real strategies with real numbers, how to spot hidden equity, when building an ADU actually makes sense, and when it's better to walk away. If you want to invest smarter, avoid the ADU trap and learn how to prepare for policy changes. Before they happen, you're going to love this one. Let's get right into it. All right, we are live. So after our little bit of technical difficulties, I'm glad I didn't cancel. Sometimes technology, it gets the best of me and it starts to stress me out. And last night, I'm not getting the cameras to work and I'm going, okay, I'm going to cancel you. And you had to cancel the first time. And now I was thinking I was going to cancel because I couldn't get the audio and all this stuff working. But I think we got it going. I think we're ready. Here we are.
We made it.
We made it. But hey, look, just doing this and working through issues, that's kind of the name of the game when it comes to investing.
100%. Yeah, that's basically inevitable. You're going to deal with problems. That's you as an investor.
Yeah, problems, they come up when you least expect them. And you have to troubleshoot really fast and get good at making movements and not second guessing yourself. Would you agree?
100%. And I'm a big believer in the bigger the problems that you solve, the bigger the reward is. So just get good at solving really big problems and you'll get rewarded for it financially in other ways. So yeah.
I agree with you. So I tell this to a lot of the guests that come on. I'm typically out there lurking, looking at people on Instagram or Facebook on what they're doing. When I think they're interesting, then I go through the rabbit hole of DMing through different platforms to get them on the podcast. And so you were on that list. And I was like, okay, yeah, she's doing it. She's working. And what I was seeing, first and foremost, I knew you were in Seattle. I saw the people you were that follow you and your friends and stuff. And it seems like the same group of people that I'm around. And then I saw a video, you were down in LA, I think, working on a project or doing something there. So that got me intrigued. So that's when I reached out. So what are you doing in your investing journey at the moment?
Yeah, right now I'm focusing on basically adding density to single family homes. So infill development is kind of what I'm specializing. So I basically buy a single family home and I'll add smaller units or single family homes or ADUs, and I condominiumize them, split them up, and then either refinance them or sell them separately. So I actually have never sold a house in my life, but I've kept all my deals. But that's pretty much what I do is I like to just turn one house into 4, one house into 6, one house into 3, just get more families in a smaller piece of land.
How did you get started on all this? What was that light bulb moment for you?
So I first started real estate by doing house hacking. So I started house hacking because I was working in tech and I wanted to reduce my housing costs and I wanted to buy real estate. So I started bedroom renting and I was doing that conventionally and I couldn't understand how people could scale so quickly. So I had to wait a year, save up, eat cup noodles essentially for a year to get the next down payment, 20% down conventionally. And then when I had learned about the BRRRR method, that's when I was like, oh, it all clicked to me. You can recycle your startup capital over and over again by doing the BRRRR method. And then Thatch Wynn, who was a good friend and mentor of mine, was the one who kind of opened my eyes up to development and how much of a larger margin you can get, and you can help solve a larger problem that we have, which is we don't have enough inventory for families. And that's what kind of got me really intrigued. And then that's when I started executing on deals where I can buy a lot and then add additional units to it. And ever since, like, I would never go back. This is like what I'm going to do for the foreseeable future.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. How was that first deal that you did from start to finish?
Well, it's funny because the first ever deal that I did that was supposed to be an ADU project, I didn't realize that I bought a bigger project than I was anticipating. So a lot of ADU projects, you buy a single family zone, single family, but I bought a single family property on a multifamily zoned lot. So my permitting actually took 2.5 years because I didn't realize that I was actually not just doing a simple ADU addition. I was actually now had the ability to build multiple single family homes and ADUs. So in a sense, I was just trying to maximize my highest and best use. And I was like, I'm going to go with it. But because it took so long, I moved on to other projects and I executed those. And then it took, again, 2 or 3 years after for me to finally complete that first ever project. But I had done multiple other projects in between then. So my first project, I just completed it essentially like this year. It was the biggest project I had ever done, was like my first ever development project, and then the other ones were easy, quick, and so yeah, I wish it was a more interesting story, but yeah.
What did you do on that first one? What did you build out? How many units?
Yeah, so I bought a single family home that I turned into a duplex. So I converted the basement into an ADU, and then I built a single family home and then built an ADU as well. So it was one house that turned into 4 houses.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's so cool when you get done with it, right?
It is.
And you see what, you know what I mean? Like when it's all done, whether you went through a bunch of stuff and it was crazy. The point is you started with an idea.
Yes.
You went through the shit of it all.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And you probably had a lot of doubt.
100%.
You learned a bunch and then you got it to the finish line. And so now that you got it to the finish line, what is that property doing for you? You kept everything, right? Because you said you keep all your properties?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, so you kept them, you finished it off, and then what did you do? Did you then refinance and BRRRR out of it, so to speak?
Yeah.
Like one big BRRRR?
Yeah, no, actually, I bird it in half, if that makes sense. So I actually did a subdivision, so I was able to do the BRRRR method on both sides. So I actually just pulled money out of both properties because they're 2 different structures that have 2 different units in a sense. So I just BRRRR'd, so they somewhat cash flow a little bit, and I was able to pull out like I think $200,000 or $300,000 tax free, so that I could move on and do another project.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's great. And now they're all rented. What year was this?
So I actually bought this at the end, I think 2023 or end of 2022 was the time that I had bought it. It was like December of 2022.
And then you got a property manager in the mix and then got it. No, you're doing it
No,
self-managing?
yeah, I basically kind of what I preach. It's funny because I actually have a virtual assistant that runs my entire property management business. So I don't have a property manager. They're out in the Philippines and they're literally doing showings from a different country.
So great. I know my whole team's from the Philippines too.
Oh, no way. That's freaking
Oh, yeah.
awesome.
Oh yeah.
Well, do they do your property management? Because you need to get on
No,
that.
but what do you think I'm thinking when you just said that? I was like,
You're like,
hmm.
I'm telling you, it's
How did you work through? So in theory, yeah, I could pull that off. I would be more concerned about all the laws and things like that. How do you navigate through all that? Do you use an attorney?
Well, yes. So, two things. I have an attorney that I have access to. So, in terms of attorney, like laws, I actually created a custom GPT model for my virtual assistant so that if they have any sort of questions, it needs to run through the custom GPT. And then every single email that they send to a tenant or any sort of form that they fill out, it needs to go through me first. So, because I know the laws. But then if they have any sort of questions or they're dealing with a problem that they don't know how to navigate, it needs to go through that custom GPT model that is for Washington law or California law or Arizona law. So they already know what the steps are of how to execute on a tenant problem.
Yeah, that's also awesome.
And it's easy to do.
It's the way of the world right now.
It's so easy to create, and I can even share with you my custom GPT model. It's so easy to create, but I can just share that with you so that they could just use that or either Washington or LA or whatever it is.
That's amazing. That's amazing. That's where your tech background shined, huh?
Just a little resourceful. Yeah. But I suck at systems. So which is yes.
Yeah. Well, I guess it really depends on what part of tech you were in. You know what I mean? There's some engineers that I've talked to that are just really good at that part. That's usually some part of their background too. And so how many people manage your properties out in Seattle or all over? How many do you have and how do they manage all of them? Are they 24/7? Like, how does that all work?
Yeah, so I have about 20 doors. I have 20 doors, and I have one person managing all of them. And it's not 24 hours, but sometimes I do kind of pay him extra if he wants to work on the weekends. For example, like on weekends is the best time for us to do showings. So like my property manager wants to do extra hours sometimes, and he'll go out and basically do a virtual showing. We call it a self-guided tour where we kind of give them instructions, we get them on Zoom, and then he'll actually show the place as if he's there. And the experience is almost identical to in person. And so we've gotten a ton of people just that rented with us just virtually. I think the biggest problem that we get sometimes is some people are sketched out. Sometimes they hear an accent. They could tell that this person's not from here. So they're just like, wait, now you're asking me for money for a security deposit. So I get that sometimes. So that he knows what to do when that happens. He's, hey, let me connect you to my manager. I don't tell people that I'm the owner, but let me connect you to and then they hear, I kind of make them feel comfortable and they're like, okay, I feel better about sending you money for the security deposit. But that's like the biggest problem that I often get is sometimes they get a little bit sketched out depending on the person. But honestly, 85% of the time, people they just kind of are like, all right, this is part of the process. It's a self-guided tour. This guy's showing it to me and I want to move forward or I don't. But it's been pretty smooth sailing, and I've been doing it for 2 years.
Because you're got multiple things going on a lot, meaning you got a basement unit, you got some ADUs and DADUs and whatever the case may be, do they question like lot lines and what is there? Like, do they give you those type, like, where's the parking? Do they end up wanting to get to the house to actually walk it? Like, how does that all play out? Because we get a lot of questions about that. Like, where's my parking spot?
For tenants?
Yeah, for tenants. Yeah.
So when like a prospective tenant that wants to view the place?
Yes. Yeah. They don't ever ask questions about things like that?
Well, when they're doing the showing, my property manager would be like, okay, this is the parking spot. And he'll like literally walk through a Zoom. So like any questions that they have, he'll be able to answer in real time.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's great. And I've gone through the same issues as you we have properties out in Kansas City that are midterm rentals. And my assistant will take them through it and they'll have some questions. And I've had people, which was kind of interesting, I have to look into this, have figured out who I am. Like
Me too.
Yeah. And I'm like, wait a minute, I got an LLC. And next thing you know, I'm getting a phone call on my personal phone line.
That happened to me 2 days ago.
Really?
Yes. It happens a lot.
Yeah. Well, so much for
anonymity.
Being a little bit in the background. Yeah. Did that take you by surprise?
Well, this story pissed me off so much, but I had a tenant that was like upset, rightfully so, but he went on my Instagram, went on my link tree, used a different name, different email address, and it was like I give free discovery calls for whatever, and then he pops on and he's like, "Hi, Sabrina, I'm one of your tenants." And I'm like, "What the fucking world is going on?"
Oh,
And I'm just like, "Really?" He's complaining because the baseboards were not caulked.
wow.
And I was just like,
Damn.
dude, this place just got renovated. I'm so sorry the baseboards just did not get caulked in that area. I'm so sorry. And I was just
Wow.
like, yeah, so it's just
He got you.
I know, it's just
He
I
got you.
sat there and I didn't say a word and he just like it was crazy. But yes, that does happen and
And
it
what did you
happens.
say? What did you tell him? Because I had another tenant. My contractor went to the property to do some handyman repairs, and she made it sound like she had my number and that she got a new phone, and he gave her my number. And then she called me up like, "Hey, da 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 da." And I'm like, "Wait, who are you?" She's like, "Yeah, I live in one of your properties." And like, da da da. I'm like, "Okay, what's going on?" She's like, "Well," started negotiating with me on, "Hey, can you do paint touch-ups every year? I'm going to stay longer. Can I get a discount down the road if it's..." And I'm just like, "Okay, you got to run that through my property management company. That's who I pay." And then, we went from there. But yeah, it's kind of weird.
That is crazy. I feel
So
like
crazy.
it's happened to me a lot. So I just basically say, "Hey, I'm not the owner. I represent the owner," which is true because the deed is not under my name. The deed is actually under an LLC that rolls up to another Wyoming holding company. So like technically speaking, I'm not the owner. So I tell them, "Hey, I'm not the owner. I represent the owner." And that like I just always direct them to like I'm not going to help you out essentially. Like I'm just kind of training them to go back to the property manager because they think that they're going to be able to get away with a lot more by talking directly. But no, like I always just like, "You're going to have to go here. I'm sorry." And I just try to train them to be like, "I'm sorry, I'm not the owner. Maybe I might sound like it, but I'm not. Just go back to the property
Yeah,
manager."
I like that approach.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's how you have to be. Whether it's a good phone call or a bad call, you kind of have to have that. You have to do that. And it's interesting. You just said you have a Wyoming holding company.
Yes.
Aren't you supposed to be the most like under the radar of any state to form?
Yeah, I mean, having that corporate structure from an attorney perspective, from a like litigation perspective, there is anonymity. But the problem is that it's easy for people to find out who you are, but it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter because in a court scenario, they won't be able to track you down. So, and there's like charge order protections and like all these anonymity things, but from a reality perspective, people can find out easily that you're the owner. It's just they can't really do anything about it, if that makes
Hmm.
sense. So if we were actually in court, like the attorney, that's the defense attorney, would not be able to figure out that this is, I'm attached to this holding company because it's in a haven state that has strong anonymity laws and there's charge order protections. But sure, there's a lot of tenants that pretty much know that I'm the owner. It's just when we get to court, like it's just prove it.
Where do you think it starts? From just closing on a property on title and it's got your name, even though it's part of the LLC? There's somewhere where it first starts the connection.
The connection of knowing who the owner is.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes people like will close on their name and then they'll do a quick claim deed into LLC, and sometimes that's pretty obvious. Like when I see that, I'm like, oh yeah, they just created an LLC. But I feel like sometimes people can just tell that you're the owner. Like you can just tell if you don't have a full-fledged property management website, and they could tell that you're a mom and pop, right? Then they can just tell by the way that you speak that maybe you care too much about what they say or like the property, like you're a little emotionally attached that they're just like, ooh, like that sounds like an owner. Somebody else who's running hundreds of properties that are not owned by that they don't own would not care this much. So I just feel like tenants are smart and they can kind of figure out who the owner is just from the vibe check.
Yeah, the vibe. Yeah, and you bring up a good point. I mean, I care about my properties and my tenants. One of those types that if I get a tenant that stays for a while, I don't raise rents. I don't raise them.
Yeah. You don't bother me, I don't bother you. Let's go.
Yeah. And honestly, now that I'm thinking about this, I think it's the property management companies that really want to raise them. They make more money. Now, yes, could there be points when they're really under market? I get that part. But a lot of the property management companies I've dealt with, they're just constantly wanting to raise and raise. And we've had to go and backtrack on a lot of things. And I've told them too, like, why am I raising rent on this single woman in this, what's $50, $100 it's not changing anything in my business.
Yeah, but they want to push the envelope because the more turnover that you have, the more money they truly make. And so
That's true.
they're
That's
trying to
true.
push the envelope. And that's why I wanted to turn all of my property management in-house. There's only cheap properties that I have a property manage because I'm just like it was my first ever property that I ever bought, that duplex, and I'm too emotionally attached. But for everything else, it's all managed by my internal property manager that I had trained from the Philippines for a fraction of the cost, and they don't do shit like that. There's so many things that property managers do that people don't even realize that they're being scammed on.
What would you put on that list?
Well, one, sometimes they make a margin on some of the repairs that get made. Well, most of the time, because when they hire a repair person, they're not the ones paying for it. So they will go out and find the most convenient person, which means that they might be more costly, which means that they don't
Sure.
genuinely care about how much it costs. But guess what? It's not coming out of their pocket, it's coming out of yours. And so they don't have you in mind in terms of cost savings or anything like that. They're just trying to make it convenient for them as much as possible. And then another thing is, yeah, they're trying to push the envelope on price on rents so that you have that turnover, because that turnover, they'll get that lease fee, right? That turnover fee that might be a full month's worth of rent or half month's worth of rent or $1,000, doesn't matter, but that's like a big chunk that they get right away. So they want that turnover. So it's just ironic because property managers kind of have very differing
Outlooks.
or outlooks or goals than the owner. So it's very counterintuitive. And so it doesn't seem like they're on the right team. They kind of seem to be opposite. And so that's why having an internal property manager that you train with your systems, your processes is just way better than hiring out a property manager.
We can go deep on this one. I got to touch on a couple things about property management and things I've gone through recently, but do you think because this is your full-time job now, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you had time to kind of really put that infrastructure in place. Do you think it's hard to is there a pretty big learning curve on taking on property management yourself and making sure it runs smooth and efficiently?
I think so, but I do believe that people think that it's a lot more complicated than it actually is. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's why I'm a big fan of house hacking when you're living at the property or renting out other bedrooms or renting out another unit, because you're kind of there, you're learning how to be a homeowner, but then you're learning how to be a property manager. So I think the learning curve might be at the very beginning when you're renting out your first ever tenant. So maybe I recommend people just use an agent or a property manager to just do the lease up part of it. And then when it comes to management, it's very similar to you maintaining a home. And then once you kind of learn the process, and you can talk to the agent or the property manager and let them know, hey, like I've never done this before. I want to learn. So I'll pay you to do it, but I want to learn. And so after you kind of do that cycle one time, you're just like, okay, it's not that bad. And then you kind of
Mm-hmm.
learn where to find the right resources. And then you can take their lease that the agent or property manager had used for that first tenant, and then pretty much it's rinse and repeat. So it's not as complicated as people think. It's just more of maybe your personality and how busy you are to want to do property management or not. But honestly, it's not as hard as people think, especially if it's a turnkey property and it's a good quality product.
Yeah, and especially in a lot of too, I would say, would come down to locations. Like,
Yes.
where do you really have these properties at? And like you said, have you did a full rehab that you're not going to get a ton of calls on repairs? And if you got them in good locations too, then typically those tenants are much better to deal with for the most part,
100%. 100%.
from my experience. But to touch on about property management, when you got a repair and then just calling people, one, this is a big topic, and I teach this to my mentees all the time. When they're going to get into a market, first and foremost, I want them to create a really solid team. And that team might take time. You might get 90% of it correct, and then you might have one bad apple that can throw off the whole business. And you got to just keep going until you figure out all those pieces. But my experience with property management is whoever they hire costs more. That's a given. So I always have a couple different handymans or a very good relationship with my contractor. And once I know that repair comes through, I see it, I look at it and I assess, is this something I want to take on or is this something they can handle? And if I notice it's going to be something that's going to cost me more, I take that, I send it over to my other handyman and say, hey, go take it. They have all the addresses, the code, they know everything that's going on, and I pass it along. But my mentee student who bought some properties in St. Louis is having a really hard time, and she's going through the struggles of how to manage people and understanding when things are going wrong. And she had supposedly a leak in her basement, and she got the repair, and it was, hey, you got a leak. We had somebody out there. It's $5,000. What do you want to do? And she's just like, how did we just pass the city inspection to rent this and all this stuff? How is it $5,000? And it's been sitting vacant. What is going on? I said, listen, you need to get a solid handyman, somebody you trust on the ground. I have a friend that has got properties. Let's get him in the mix. He jumps in, he goes and looks at it. He's like, there's no issue here.
Oh my God.
You are getting scammed.
Wow.
And also the issues that you paid for to pass your city inspection were not done correctly. You're not going to pass. So whoever they hired to do this is not done correctly. So you're going to sit in this cycle. So then I told her, I go, okay, hire him. Now you need to go through the city and you need to work directly with the city inspector and the handyman. You guys work on getting this property ready for the market, because the longer you sit not renting it, what happens? Break-ins, squatters, repairs, the list goes on. And yeah, I've experienced that. Every time I do a work order through property management, it's usually double. It's like going through a termite company to do water-related issues. It's always double. You might as well just hire somebody else.
That's just crazy. Do you think that they're just adding a margin, or they're just picking the most convenient person that just costs more?
Exactly what you said. I think, honestly, depending on location, this doesn't happen everywhere. So let's just make sure I'm clear on that. But I think some places, some markets, they know the people that own these properties are investors, and they're usually out of state, somewhere else. Are you flying out there? And hey, and if you're really busy, let's say you're a really busy person that's not that in your business like you should be, you might just spend the $5,000 and take it as a write-off. You know what I mean? I don't know. Depends on the person.
Yeah.
I mean, she was freaking out. She's like, I'm dumping money in these properties and they're not even they're vacant. How are we showing up to the property and there's issues every time they show up, but there's nobody there?
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. So
That's sad.
You touched on this is good information for any new investor, because this is the real deal on things.
100%.
So I'm glad that jumped in there. Yeah, I want to understand what you're into now, what you're working on, what's exciting that's going on. I know you got a lot of different things. And I heard that you're mentoring people too.
Yeah, that's kind of the new thing that I'm doing. Well, is coaching people how to basically get into development. So a lot of people think that development's scary, development's for the ultra wealthy. You know what I mean? And so like my goal is to kind of demystify that. And in 90 days, my goal is to try to get people their first development deal. So
That's great.
Yeah, so that's kind of my coaching. But what I'm doing now is now I'm trying to diversify my real estate portfolio, because majority of my portfolio is in Seattle. And so I just bought a fourplex in Arizona a month ago, and it was just turnkey, but I'm just testing the market because I want to build there. And then in Seattle, I just finished off like almost 3 projects, and they're all developments. Again, it's all adding density to smaller lots, infill development, just trying to create more affordable housing in the Seattle area.
Yeah, they need it there too.
Oh yeah.
There's no land.
Yeah, and we're surrounded by water, and so
you're surrounded by water.
It's just
When I went out to Seattle, how I ended up on that journey going out there was because I had a bunch of people that I met at Bigger Pockets on the podcast, and so I got intrigued.
No way.
Yeah,
they're all from Seattle, huh? We dominate that conference.
Yeah, that's true. You're absolutely right on that. That's totally true. Not only that, then I was listening to a podcast, and I was hearing Ann Curry out in
Mm,
Tacoma.
yeah.
And so she was the first one I had on my podcast. I'm like, I think I'm going to go out to Seattle.
No
This sounds
way.
like the market. And I go, it's closer to my house. And then when I got out there and started cruising the neighborhoods, it was very similar light bulb moment to go investing in Kansas City. Because when I got
Mm,
on the ground in Kansas City, there was a lot of rundown houses, but you could see the development and you could just see what was going on. So you're like, okay, there's
mm,
jobs, there's a path of progress. Tennessee was very similar for short-term rentals in the Smoky Mountains. I got on the ground there and I went, oh, this place is amazing. This is a no-brainer for short-term rentals. You can do this and there's not going to get regulations, but Seattle was the same way. And you can tell that with the alleyways and the way the houses sit on the lots,
mhm.
like you could have a 5,000 square foot lot here in San Jose, it's usually sitting right in the middle of the lot. You don't got no backyard. And if you're going to put an ADU in that backyard, somebody is going through the side gate. Where are they parking? There's no privacy. Now, it's
Mhm.
great for maybe extended family and things like that. You could use it. That's totally fine.
Mhm.
But it's not the same vibe
Mhm.
whatsoever in Seattle. They're not apples to apples. I've said this to Thatch too. Like, dude, this ain't the same out here. But yeah, you guys got the hills and the water.
Yeah.
There's no land.
Yeah, no, there is no land. But there are, I mean, I would say it is still hard to find properties that are placed on the right good side of the lot, on one side of the lot so you could build. So you're just gonna have to search. But there are deals out there. And I'm sure San Jose, there's plenty of properties that are like that. It just might be harder to find.
It is.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
What are your goals to try to end this year? Are you trying to find more properties? Are you good for what you have in front of you or
No, actually, so because I just closed, like I'm pretty much at the
on the
end.
fourplex?
Yeah, I'm pretty much done 3 projects and I'm starting a project where I'm partnering with somebody to do a 15 unit development deal in Seattle. So, but I'm not that active in that project, but I'm in buying mode right now. So I would like to get at least one more development project by the end of the year. And I would like to also, I'm actually looking at a 8 unit development deal in Arizona that I'm looking into. So I'm kind of chill right now. Just I've completed 3 large projects right now. So
I love that you said I'm kind of chill right now. What are you talking about? There ain't nothing chill about this. What are you talking about? We're terrible. This is horrible. Sorry guys, but this is
the reality is not.
this is what happens. So in Arizona, it feels like there's a lot of land. How are you approaching what you're going to do out there compared to what's going on in Seattle?
Yeah, so well, Arizona came out with saying that they were short 250,000 homes. So there is a shortage of homes in Arizona. And with all the jobs that are moving here, like a lot of hardware engineers are moving here because of all the semiconductor plants that are starting their businesses and a lot of entrepreneurs. And so there's not enough affordable housing in these areas. Sure, there's a ton of land, but the problem is everybody still wants to live in downtown Phoenix. Everybody still wants to live in downtown Chandler. So these areas are becoming unaffordable, and the city is actually recognizing that there is an affordability and density issue in certain areas, that they're allowing ADUs to be built. They're not allowing them to be sold separately quite yet, but I do, and there's nothing in the books, it's not nothing pending right now in Arizona, but I do believe that it will happen where they're going to want more developers to jump onto this bandwagon and more homeowners to build in their backyards, that they're going to allow for ADUs to be sold separately and have parcel numbers and separate tax IDs, but not quite yet. So the goal is to kind of, yeah, prepare myself for when this happens, land bank, and then when the time comes, start building ADUs and additional units on these single family zone lots.
You're getting prepared for it.
Yep,
You'll be ready.
I'll be ready.
Have the infrastructure. Yeah, smart. What about out in Seattle? Like, what are some of the deals that you've done that have been pretty creative?
So one of the deals, so my easiest ADU deal is I bought a house from a flipper where it was already a beautifully renovated single family home, and the flipper already converted the garage into this beautiful studio 1 bedroom. So it's like everybody thought I was an idiot for buying it for market value, but I'm like, in my head, I'm like, okay, sure, there's no actual value add when it comes to renovations or cosmetic or anything like that. But the value add that I see that a lot of people don't see is that you can actually do a condo conversion, split the lot, get two separate tax IDs, two separate parcel numbers, so that you can attach title to each of these structures. Just by doing that, it appraised for $350,000 more in about 6 weeks, just by getting a condo survey, getting an attorney, and recording it with the county. All of a sudden, boom, just created an unlocked value that people did not even see. So it's just being able to recognize and spot these opportunities and have the lenses to be able to see that type of value add, not just traditional value add that a lot of flippers see. That's where all the magic and all the money is being made. So that was the easiest. Like, I made more money from that deal than I did in my tech job for the entire year.
Off that one in like 6
Yeah.
weeks, essentially. So let's talk about, so you lot split, right? So you got two separate parcel ID numbers now.
Mm-hmm.
How much of value are you thinking the main single family takes after the fact?
So
This one was attached to the garage, correct? So
it wasn't attached. It was a detached. It was detached garage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So essentially, are you putting in a rule of thumb of you're going to take a 10% hit on the main house?
So that, I think, is old news. So I would say 2-3 years ago, I would say 10% is a pretty good number to say that the front house loses about 10% of its value by taking away the backyard. I'm noticing now it's taking a larger hit. Like, I'm talking 15-20%. That's why in the Seattle area, just because you can build an ADU doesn't mean you should, because the front house is being impacted a lot more than it did a couple years ago. So,
And why is that? Why is that? Is that the market shift?
I think it's the market shift, but then also, like, people are starting to realize that, like, how much of an impact the backyard has on the value of the front house, and like things are just, now there's more comps to be like, oh, like before we didn't really have much comps for removing backyards, like it just came with a backyard. But yeah, I think the market shift, and also now we're getting comps for slowly things are kind of reducing in value for it not having that amenity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's got an HOA now too.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like you just added another layer to it. This is a topic. It's funny. This is something that I remember when we were buying our short-term rental cabin out in the Smokies. And this was like 2022, 2023, they're in that range. And one of my biggest questions to this group that are very big out there was, I don't care how much this cabin was grossing during COVID. What was it grossing in 2019?
That's right. Those
I
are
don't
the real
care.
numbers.
I keep hearing these numbers and it's so inflated, but everybody was traveling. And I just kept going, I want to know what was going on. And of course, I learned that one real quick. Once that market shifted, here was the true value. And what you bring up about these lot splits is definitely in my mind, because we got 5 houses and 11, middle housing developments going. And yes, we've juiced the value, so to speak, on these houses because we turned them in basement units. But then again, if you were going to sell that main house as a duplex, unpermitted duplex, whatever you want to call it, you now have a very small buyer pool. I'm picturing one thing, and I'm curious to understand what you think. Maybe it makes sense for the tech worker house hacker. That's like, yeah, I'm going to buy this house and I'm going to put tenants in the bottom and they're going to pay $3,500 and I'm going to have mine upstairs. Maybe that's going to work. Maybe that's going to be something. And every location is different too. That's another thing. I mean, you're building these little communities. What's your take on all that?
You're asking about having a duplex versus...
Yeah, I mean, do you think the buyer pool shrinks now that you've lot split and basically there's no backyard, or maybe you put a basement unit in?
Actually, I think the buyer pool, I think it just depends on the location. There's certain areas, like, for example, Capitol Hill in the Seattle area, there's a lot of tech people that want to live there. But houses, like, the average home price is, if I were to guess, is $1.6 million. And so if you were to buy an ADU in somebody's backyard for $750,000 and it's brand new construction, sure, it has a 10-foot side yard, like 10 foot by 50 or like 30. But at the end of the day, I get to be where all my favorite restaurants are, where all my friends lived. And sure, it's in an HOA, right? But you're technically not sharing anything other than if there's a common element, you're not really sharing anything other than maybe a fence. And hopefully you have an ADU where it's set up where you have separate private access. Like a lot of people, especially in the tech world, like they love these ADUs, and those are usually the end buyers in the Seattle area is tech people in really that want to be in really good locations that don't care about a yard. They just have a little dog, they want to be near a dog park, but the families want their amenities, right? Because they got kids running around and they want that big large yard. But I don't know if the buyer pool, I think it depends on the avatar. Those are the types of people that kind of target. Those are the end buyers for the ADUs.
So we're doing a lot of these middle housing scenarios now that are kind of popping up. And my biggest kind of struggle ARV with price per square foot things are coming up is, yeah, now I can build a 1,700 square foot middle housing scenario. Does like, okay, my build costs go up. Am I going to get the ARV out of it? That's another scenario. 3, if I do build bigger, and let's say I do have a problem with selling it, whatever, because the market is shifting. It's shifting a little bit out there. I noticed that. I can't do a DSCR loan. That's not going to happen. So those things, like now I've kind of put this like threshold of like, okay, let's go to 1,400 square feet. Let's get a little bigger than the typical 1,000,
Yes.
1,200, whatever.
Yes.
Let's just add a little bit more. We're building 3-story units now. We have one over by Green Lake. It's in an alley, but it's in a cool alley because it's next to a really like cool commercial brick building. And so the architect drafted up a dadu. And I'm like, you know what? I want a 3-story. I want the 2-car garage side by side at the first floor. I want the entrance going up. And then the second floor, I want the kitchen, half bath, living. And then I want a huge deck, covered deck with bifolds. And then the third floor, put 3 bedrooms, 2 full bathrooms. And it looks cool. And it's got a huge deck. So there's your outdoor space. From that property, you can walk to Green Lake.
That's awesome.
It's 3 minutes away.
Ugh, that's so good.
So I'm thinking that's cool. And I'm going to be in it for about 5 to build.
What do you think the ARV would be?
9. I didn't even know when we got it. And by the way, the main house was a little 2-1, and we turned the upper into a 3-2, and then the basement into a 3-2. Actually, all our properties, we've turned 2-1s into 3-2, 3-2s.
So like into a duplex. That's what I did for, okay. That's awesome.
But you're losing, that one on 75th, there's no backyards for either one of them. They're going to have walkways and fenced off, maybe a little outdoor space, enough for, like you said, a dog to do the thing, but they can walk to Green Lake.
That's right. Yeah, they can walk.
So,
because it's a good location. That's the key, is like you have to be in great locations where they can get their yard fixed through walking around the lake. Or that's why location matters for sure.
Yeah. I didn't even know there was a downtown, like the downtown on 75th. You go up, there's like a little mini downtown. I didn't even know that because I didn't get on the map when we got this. I got the deal really quick and I had to make a decision. But I was like looking at the ARVs on things. I'm like, why is this area it's so pricey right here? And I go, I know there's Green Lake, but there's something else going on. When I found the downtown, I'm like, all right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We got the amenities. Well, what do you think about middle housing? Like, just because you can go bigger and more square footage, does it really make sense? I mean, I guess every project is going to have its things, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, first of all, I would say just because you can, I know that's not related to your question, but just because you can build an ADU doesn't mean you should build an ADU.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people are just like, oh my God, it's on a corner lot, it's on an alley, I'm going to build an ADU. It's just an automatic thing. But the problem is because we're losing so much more value than we did before on the front house, and it might not be worth the holding cost of an extra 6 to 8 months for the ADU to be built, and then the amount of money that you're making is just not worth that time, rather than just maximizing the front house and just doing a full renovation and having it appraise at a pretty decent amount, but you're in and out velocity of money just moving on. So I just feel like this kind of like this ADU fallacy where like people like, Just because you could doesn't mean you should build an ADU. Just run your numbers, figure out, like, are you in a location where, this play works, right? Because we're losing a lot more value in the front house, like, you gotta really be conservative with your numbers. And sometimes people are building even ADUs in these A minus neighborhoods where it's just probably better for you to just spend a little bit more money in that front house and just get a higher appraisal on that rather than building an ADU and really stripping the value of the front house or like the potential of that front house. And so I wanted to answer that question in that way instead.
No, and I think it's really good. And I think it's an important topic to bring up because we're kind of in it too. And then I'll see people on Facebook and I hear this conversation a lot. Oh yeah, you get the inexperienced investor who overpays for the main house, gets tied up on the ADU, gets the carrying costs, and then takes, a $200,000 hit on the main house. Or I've been hearing people already taking a huge loss on the main house off the bat just to bet on the ADU play.
Yeah, and that is scary for me because if you have to build to make the numbers work, that's a huge problem. That is a huge problem because the development should, like, the ADU play or the development play should be a cherry on top of the sundae. Like, the numbers should just work from just burring the front house or flipping the front house. The numbers should just work. Have I bought a property where I was at a loss and I would have to leave money in the deal for the back house? Yes. It was like about $75,000, but that made my land cost in the back $75,000. But the numbers that I was getting for the back was like 50% margin. So I'm like, I can pay $75,000 for that land that I lost in the front house. So you have to kind of have a cap of where you're losing money in the front house. Is it $100,000 that you're just like, okay, this is the max that I would pay for the land in the back? What is that threshold? But if you have to build an ADU in the back to make your numbers work for this entire project, I'm sorry, but like you're overpaying for that deal.
Let's get some good insights right there.
Yeah. I'm passionate about
Well, I'm glad we jumped back on.
I know.
And do you ever go through this too? Because you're talking all these things, right? You got these properties, the developments, you got your mentoring, you're doing this, right? Have you ever thought about the end goal? Like I understand that people, like, we look out and then work backwards, but it is like a puzzle. Like, we don't know where we're going to be at the end of all of this, like how we're going to deal with the properties, how we're going to successfully exit, all those things. Does that ever run in your head?
Yeah, no, totally. Because it's like, when's enough, right? And
Yeah.
I'm not the type of person that wants 100 doors. I do have like a financial monthly passive goal that I want to reach. I think I have 2 levels. I would like $50,000 passively per month, and I feel like I can live pretty comfortably. But my ultimate goal is like, okay, I'm doing all this. I enjoy real estate, but nobody like has a deep, deep passion for real estate. It's usually like a vehicle to allow you to do things that you really enjoy. And for me, I love teaching. That's just like when I was in tech, I used to teach for free, like the things that I was doing because I just love teaching. And I believe that's kind of like my purpose. And so kind of my end goal is like, I want to impact people and I want to make the world a better place. And I do believe through education is the way to do it. And so I feel like that's why I'm at the point where I feel good about the projects that I've done, the credibility that I've built, the reputation and the kind of wealth that I've built that I just started my coaching program, but that's kind of what I want to do to impact people. And also there's also these projects, these tiny home projects in Seattle for like affordable housing where it's run by the government. And I want to build or raise money to build these types of homes to kind of get more people like into more homes. And I feel like my obsession for creating more affordable homes kind of came from the fact that I did not grow up in a steady home and like we were always moving and there was like 6 people in a 2-bedroom apartment. And I just never felt safe in a home. And so like, I feel like that's kind of where my obsession for creating affordable housing for people that can live in a steady home that they can truly feel safe in and can afford it. And so that's kind of my mission and that's kind of my end goal. It's not necessarily a financial goal, but the financial goal is to allow me that space and safety to be able to do things that can impact the world and serve my purpose.
I love that. I think it's great. And I think that's important. I think the mentoring part is such a good feeling.
It is.
But I don't know. I don't know about you. I don't know how you got into it. Mine, I pretty much learned how to do things. I mean, I've been in real estate since 2008 as a realtor, and I think I kind of took on being an investor just from content, watching content and learning from people and just kind of learning as I go. But then I had, people started seeing me online and calling me and texting me and want to have coffee, want to invest, and can I shadow you? What can I do to get into this? And I said, oh, you can't. That's too hard. There's too many moving parts and there's too many dynamics to do that. You would have to be glued to my hip. And quite frankly, if you're glued to my hip to hear what I go through, you probably won't be an investor.
That is so true. Oh my God. It sounds so cool and fun until you actually, nope.
Yeah. So some of them turned into partnerships.
Same.
And that worked. Yeah.
That is so funny.
And most of them work in tech. And they came to me like, hey, I work a 9 to 5. I got RSUs. I'm ready to go. Let's do this. And so that worked out good. But then I got to the point where I'm like, okay, I can't have 30 partnerships. It's a lot of moving parts. And so I have like my little core group and we're very tight. So then I pivoted and I started helping people and I would go on retainer with them for 6 months and I would help them pick a market, get financing, put a team together and just pour whatever I can into them and teach them and give them as much information they possibly can from basically all the lessons I've learned. And now I get to watch them go through their, like the one I just told you about, the $5,000 scenario. She called crying. I don't know if this is for me. These two aren't renting. I got the other two renting. I'm losing money. I'd rather just give the money to you and you go and do a project in Seattle. And I'm like, Karen, you need to take control here. Like, you need to take control. You're running a business. Let's do this. You call this person, talk to this person, and I want you to report back to me in a day. And she's like,
I love that.
Okay. Like, she's going to cry. And she's cried many times. And that's okay. But then she's like, look. And then so I called her back like a week later and I'm like, hey, I'm sorry that I'm direct with you and hard on you. But guess what? People are going to be hard on you. So you need it. And she's like, you make me feel good every time we get off the phone. You give me clarity and you give me like, okay, I feel like I still have you behind me and I'm going to go get it done. Okay, cool. And all that, I think real estate and investing for me, it's just one part of my life, but it does teach me a lot of lessons in life itself.
Like what?
Life's not perfect. There's problems. We have ups and downs. You know what I mean? It's not all roses. And I think that sometimes on social media, it can get painted that way, that we're all doing all these great projects and doing all this stuff. And there's, here's how I'm going to make 400,000 on this one project. Well, there could be some that it's like, here's how I lost 100 grand, or here's how I had to like let go of my architect, or there is a lot of issues too. We make money and we lose money too. They go hand in hand, but such is life. So I think it teaches us a lot of things, but I can say that teaching, just selfless teaching, is the best. You can't put a price tag. You get paid to do it, but it's the best feeling. You walk away, just, you know what I mean? I passed at it. You know what I mean? It feels good. It feels good. And that's it was very similar to, I remember when I first put out content, made a video on a property that I bought. And it was, oh, that's so cool. Thank you so much. You got me inspired. I want to do it too. I'm like, I see the text and I got like emotional. I'm like,
wow.
Oh, God, that feels good. You know what I mean? I hope they do.
Feeling. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's a cool thing, right? Yeah.
No, 100%.
Yeah. What do you do for hobbies? You in anything?
Tennis is a big thing for me. Tennis and drinking matcha is kind of like what people think of me as, is the tennis player that drinks matcha that does real estate. That's literally the only thing that people think that I do. Yeah, but that's pretty much encompasses my life, honestly.
Yeah. Did you say tennis? Tennis?
Yeah, playing tennis. Yeah.
No pickleball?
Gosh, no. No, I'm kidding. That's gonna piss off so many people.
I know.
When my knees hurt and elbows hurt, then I would go to pickleball. For now, I love pickleball. Don't get me wrong, but tennis is just my thing. Yeah.
Yeah. How long you been into tennis?
Probably like 4 or 5 years.
It's cool. How'd you pick it up?
Funny enough, I had a friend that was so like if you know anyone who's into tennis, it's like like a cult. They're like obsessed, right? So I had a friend that couldn't stop talking about tennis, and I got so mad, and like my friend just kept on trying to get me to play tennis. I'm like, just no, I don't want to, and I don't want to watch tennis. And it was just like, anyways, the more I hung out with my friend, the more I'm just like, shut up about tennis. And they just try to convince me to play tennis, and I was just like, no, it just kind of pushed me away. And then all of a sudden, I played tennis with this person like once or twice, and I was just like, huh, this is kind of cool. And I just loved everything surrounding tennis, the cool outfits and just the vibe around it. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I should just do lessons. And then I found a little center near my house that did lessons. And tennis is one of those sports that the better that you get, the more you like the sport. Like at the beginning, you kind of hate it because you suck and you just can't hit the ball. And then the better that you get, the more addicting you really get to the sport. So it's been kind of this addiction and I love it. And then I had gone to like the Indian Wells and ushered for it. I actually worked
Oh, cool.
for Indian Wells for like I think it was like 2 years ago, and my plan is to do it like every year. But it's just so fun. I love everything that surrounds tennis and the sport itself.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like that. Yeah, I think my dad played tennis when he was in high school, but I kind of grew up watching it. Yeah,
No way.
I like it. Yeah, I like it. I think it's cool. Well, if I had to watch something on TV, I would pick tennis over golf.
Oh, okay.
Even though I know a lot of people are super into golf, but I don't get it.
You're like, no.
It's not me. That's okay. Do you travel at all?
Yeah, I just got back from Colombia actually a couple days ago. Most of my travel over the last 2, 3 years has been all like work related. And so my trip to Colombia was technically the first trip that was like a fun like vacation that I had in 3 years. And I was very disappointed in myself actually. I was like, what? Like I waited 3 years to like, and I was just on hustle mode for a couple years straight. And I was just like, what am I doing all this for? And then I took an impromptu trip. I think my flight was like 3 times the price as it should have been because I just booked it 2 days before. But I just needed to just remember what it's like to just travel and do something for myself. So yeah, that I just
We
got
need
back.
to.
But now I need
We
to
need
like
to.
be intentional. So my goal this year is to travel more. Like for fun, not for
Good.
bigger pockets and limitless and all these conferences. Like, no, that is not
Because you're just
fun.
in the same stuff.
Yeah, I'm just like, we're
You
doing
get back from a
deals.
conference and now you're like, okay, I got all these new goals and I got to do this. And then you're just like stacked on more things, actually.
Exactly. And you're doing deals at these conferences. Like you're
Yeah.
making transactions happen, people bringing you deals, and it's just not vacation, even though you're in Vegas and you're in LA, whatever. It's not fun.
Yeah. I just did a men's retreat last weekend. Yeah.
No
Oh,
way. Was it like GoBundance or like one of these groups or
no.
no?
It's crazy.
Wanna hear
So I
about it.
sold this lady's house back in April, and she's friends with my mom.
Uh-huh.
They go to the same church.
Mm-hmm.
She's 90 and she moved into an assisted living, and she was following me on Facebook. And when it came time to sell, she called me and I said, you want to interview me? And she's like, look, I already follow you on Facebook. I know everything about you. You're my guy. I'm like, all right. But we talked a lot, and she was just like I call her my third mom. Just a cool lady. She's 90 and she just, you
Good
can
vibes.
tell it like it is, and you get her wisdom. And we closed on the property, and she's like, called me up and said, hey, I'd like to sponsor you to go to a men's retreat.
What?
I'm like,
That
okay.
is so nice.
And I'm like, what kind of men's retreat are we talking about? Here, she says men's retreat. And I'm thinking like, oh, is this like a business men's retreat I'm going to take off to? I'm like, this sounds cool. I'm ready to do this. She's like, it's in the Santa Cruz Mountains. I'm like, all right, cool. And then I'm like, is it a religious
Yeah,
retreat?
like what's the catch?
Yeah. And she's like, yeah, it's through the church. Yeah, kind of. Yeah. She's like, I think it'd be good for you. I'm like, all right. So I signed, I was like, sure. And about a week before going, my wife and my daughter are going, you realize this is a religious retreat. This is a big deal. I'm like, okay. I had no clue what I was going to get myself into. I showed up there Thursday evening, no phone,
Wow.
no phone. And it was deep. It was deep. It was good. It was really good. It was a good reset. It was in the mounds. Not having my phone, not being on social media for almost a week.
That's
I just posted on stories. I wish stories go longer so you can actually tell a story. I don't even know why they call it stories. It's not stories. But shit, it's like who the heck tells stories in a minute? Give me a break.
Yeah.
But anyways, I just posted like, hey, I'm back. I went to retreat. I can't even tell you everything that went on that was amazing. But getting off social media, it really made me realize that there's some negatives to it for sure. Big time. As much as I try to block it out, and stay in lanes of positivity and learning and things like that, there's just another 10 to 20% of it that's kind of just toxic in my eyes. But the retreat gave me a little bit more of like insight on, and funny enough, when she picked me up after the retreat, she said, hey, part of the reason why I thought you should go is you have a platform. She's like, I know you're a realtor and you're an investor, but you also layer in your background and mindset and inspiration. She's like, I feel like you can lean into that more. So I understood it once I got there. Was it religious? Yes. But I think it had everything to it was positive. So I would do it again. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it felt nice. You kind of poured into yourself a little bit and didn't even realize that was
this.
place.
Yes. And it's so unexpected too, which was I showed up there, I'm getting there and going, all right, let's lock in here, folks, and take it in too. And I think there could have been an opportunity there. I don't think it's a place to go if you're trying to like get through some traumatic issues in the beginning, whether it's addiction or depression, or I don't think it's the right place for that in the beginning, but I think it is to improve your well-being and how you can improve others too, which was another big, after I got back is what I called Karen, my mentee student, who's my friend. I told her that, hey, I'm sorry, I'm kind of sometimes really harsh with you. No, it's only for your benefit. And she's like, oh, no. Like I want you to stay just like that because that's what I need. I'm like, okay.
We need mentors like you. To just be a straight shooter. Don't sugarcoat it. Just tell me how I can be better.
Yeah. Well, on that note, I'm really happy that we got to connect and get you on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And it's nice meeting you. This is the first time we're meeting, which is so cool.
I know, it's crazy. And that's what I love about doing a podcast is, I'll find people online, but then I get an hour of intimate talk to learn about them and then share that message out there. It's just really cool. And we have another connection. I know I can reach out to you somewhere else if there's something I needed out there and vice versa. So I think it's really cool. So,
no, I
appreciate you jumping on.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Where can the audience find you?
Instagram is probably the best way for people to reach out. I share a lot of my ideals and a lot of educational content, but yeah, Sabrina.Smai, SMAI on Instagram. And that's pretty much where you can find me.
Fantastic. We'll put that in the show notes too. So yes, once again, thank you for joining today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hope you have a good rest of your week.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah. We'll be talking soon.
Oh yeah. Appreciate you.
All right. Take care.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning into our show, where we hope you found inspiration and gained valuable insights. If you enjoyed this conversation and want to stay updated on our latest episodes, be sure to subscribe to our podcast and share it with others who might benefit from it. We appreciate your support and look forward to bringing you more candid conversations and breakthrough moments in the future. Until next time, take care and keep exploring new ideas and strategies.